Hello and welcome to Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name is Geoff and I'm one of your hosts for the show, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Paul.
Yeah, that's me. I am the other host for the show.
And this episode is Meet the Whovians 3, Part 1. So these are episodes that we do every now and then where we talk about a range of Doctor Who topics with other fans that we've met online, mostly on Twitter. So for this episode, we're going to be talking about how people discovered Doctor Who and what their favourite Big Finish stories are. So we're joined today by Katie, who is at Space Rose, the Welsh Whovian, who is at Jamaz Evans 123, and we're also joined by Ethan, whose username is at Ethan_LMP. So, Paul, are you ready to talk Who with some Whovians?
I'm always ready, Geoff. Let's go for it. Let's do this.
Let's go. We're now joined on the podcast by Katie, who you might recognise from your Twitter travels. And Katie, how are you this evening?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Yes, we're pretty good. Yeah, we're having an evening of Whovian chat, so you can't really go much better than that, really. So remind us, for anyone who listening who doesn't know, what's your handle on Twitter again?
It is _Space Rose.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so you can do a quick search and find Katie. So let's kick off with a bit of a classic question. So, how did you discover Doctor Who?
That's always a good starter, isn't it? Well done, Geoff.
I thought about that one for ages.
My best friend used to be obsessed with it when we were both about 8 or 9 years old. And she forced me to sit down and watch it as much as I didn't want to, because I was such a wuss of monsters and aliens, and I was really scared, and I was like, I can't do it. It made me sit down and watch it, and it was The Girl in the Fireplace.
Wow.
So I remember being absolutely terrified of the Clockwork Robot.
Yes.
By the end, I completely got into it, and I was like, okay, I love this. Let's watch the rest of the series.
That's brilliant. That's a good one to start with, isn't it? I like that one because that's, that's a lovely story. It's a love story as much as anything else, isn't it?
Yeah. And also it's quite a good example of what the show can do, going from, spaceship back in time, robots, monsters, the horses there as well. It's a bit bonkers. There's lots of great stuff in it. That's actually a really good intro episode, I think, actually.
I think it's the perfect episode for a child's first episode.
Yeah.
What was your first
And see,
episode,
I like
Geoff?
it well, I'm old, Paul, like you.
Yeah, go on.
So I can remember Sylvester McCoy stuff. I could say Rose, but that's not entirely true. What was yours, Paul? Was it Unearthly Child?
Cheeky, very cheeky. No, my first was the first one I think I remember was The Brain of Morbius.
You did tell me that. Yeah,
didn't I? It was either that or The Arcade Space. But again, because it was just horrific, with Sarah Jane Smith getting her sight back and stumbling around and brains flopping out of jars onto the floor. Yeah, it's pretty gross. Yeah, lovely.
So I like that. You watched that episode, Katie, and under sort of duress, and then
you were forced to watch it.
Yeah, forced, and got hooked, and then wanted to watch more. And I remember, quite a while ago now, I said to my wife, the last Harry Potter film is coming out. You're coming to see it with me because I haven't got anyone else to come and see it with me. Oh, I don't want to watch that. I'm not going to that. But I was like, well, tough. We've got 2 months to watch 6 films, and we watched the first one. And a bit of moaning, and then it finished. She was like, she goes, I think we've probably got time to fit the next one in before we should go to bed. And then we watched them all in like a week. And, we've been to see the show in London and stuff. So, yeah, it's I quite like it when people, oh, I don't want to watch this. And then they end up getting hooked on it. So, yeah, that's good. So, I guess from then, did you go back and watch Eccleston stuff and then carry on with Tennant after that?
I did, yeah. So I think that was the time when Series 2 had just been released on DVD. So we was kind of watching it on DVD then at her house, and then I was hooked. And then I think I went through the rest of Series 2 without realising there was a whole nother series before that to get into.
Oh, right.
Christ. So then I went back and I watched all of Series 1 as well. And then pretty much then by the time Series 3 came out, I was ready.
Yeah.
to watch it live.
Right. And then you watched it live since then, yeah. So when you discovered that, how much did you know about the show as a whole? But at that point, so when you discovered there's a series with another guy playing the Doctor, and then you discover all the other Doctors before that, what did you think?
I remember being pretty mind blown because
really?
just kind of not knowing anything about the show before my friend forcing me to watch it. All I knew was that David Tennant, this guy, plays the Doctor, and that's it. I didn't realise how many more series there'd been before. I didn't realise how popular it was, how loved it was by people. So it was a big surprise, but I was thrilled. So I was like, wow, I've got so much to catch up on.
So much content.
Yeah.
And
that's a good bonus, isn't it?
Up.
Still haven't caught up, you say?
No, not on Classic Who. No, I've watched the episode, but I do need to go and watch it from the start properly.
Yeah, there's
in
some
fairness,
years there, that's for sure.
Yeah, none of us can ever properly catch up because some of it's missing. So that's quite a good excuse for why you haven't been able to watch all of it. So yeah, that's interesting. Discovering more. So like my kids know that Jodie's the Doctor, and if they ever look at any of the DVDs or anything or book, and they're like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's Doctor Who. It's a man. And they're really confused. Because they the Jodie's the Doctor and it's a woman, and my son understands a bit more now, but the twins, the girls, they don't get it at all. So when they are forced to watch it when they're older, they'll have all that to come as well.
It's quite interesting, actually. I just got to interject with this one, right? Because I used to have, you can't see it on the back of this door right here. I used to have.
Can I just interrupt, Paul? Sorry,
yes.
I just want to interrupt Katie. Paul's hidden his nerd collection out of shot. It is quite impressive.
No, so you can see my TARDIS. Look, there's my TARDIS over there.
There's more.
There is more. Anyway, yeah, it's all work stuff. But
honestly,
I've got washers behind me.
But I used to have on the door behind me a photograph of like all the modern Doctors, and my kids when they were little, particularly Frey, used to come in and point to them all like, "Who's that? That's Doctor Who. Who's that? That's Doctor Who. Who's that?" And go through them all with the same thing, and then say, "Why they all look different?" Now there's a story, you see, and I'll just make some sort of stuff up. But because of that, they were more prepared for the whole thing when they sort of came of age, if you like. And Lucy, my eldest, won't watch it at all. She's terrified of Weeping Angels, whereas Freya does definitely watch it. She really got into it. So I just thought I would pop that one right in because it's just a story that I had to tell somebody. And as you guys are my captive audience, I thought I'd tell you, I'd share it with you just like that. So.
I didn't know that bit about the poster. I quite like that. That's good.
Good.
So
I can come out with this stuff on occasion.
Yeah, and it's not scripted either.
No. Oh God, no. Imagine if it was scripted. Imagine if this podcast was scripted.
Yeah.
The very thought of it. The very idea.
We're not alone tonight. We're also joined by Ethan, who is one of our Twitter friends. Hello, Ethan.
Hello.
Hi, Ethan.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. It's sort of funny to be on one of these things. Like, I've never been on a podcast before, but if I was going to be on a podcast, then what else would I be talking about? So, or in this case, who else would I be talking about?
Oh, very good. Who else?
What other podcast would you need to be on it? They all start and finish here, my friend. There you go. That's very kind of you to say so, Ethan. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for joining us. So, well, I'm just going to dive straight in here. So, tell us how did you discover Doctor Who?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got very vague memories of seeing bits of it before I started watching, because I didn't start watching it right as the revival just started. But I've got vague memories of, say, Slovene, Daleks, Oods on the TV because my brother and sister were watching it first. But yeah, my first proper episode though was Gridlock in series 3. So yeah, slightly late because obviously I missed the first 2 episodes of that series. But even then, well, I mean, that story is, in my opinion, possibly one of Russell T Davis's best. It's actually pretty underrated, I'd say. Like it does such a good job of kind of telling you what these characters are about without seeing the start of that series. And yeah, I just kept watching ever since, really. Well, then ended up going back and watching the first two series, of course. Then yeah, just kept watching, and I've never stopped. So
It's taken hold of your life.
taking hold, yeah. Yeah, because suddenly I feel like a lot of other friends I had at school who did watch it at the same time don't. Well, not a lot of them watch it now. I think even just because I don't know, some people just don't really like when the show changes, or they just grew up. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess there is multiple factors when it comes to these things. So, but yeah,
Brilliant.
That's how I've gone to it. So yeah.
That's fantastic. It does make me feel slightly old, though. Again, I'll keep bringing something over because we keep talking to younger people, Geoff. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like early memories of stories just before Gridlock, and I'm thinking, gosh, I was married with kids when those things were going on.
I wasn't quite, so I'm not quite as old. But yeah, my early memory is Peter Davison, bowling with a cricket ball. I can remember seeing that on telly. So yeah, it's in another 20 years, Ethan, when you're our age, you might be doing a podcast and talking to people whose earliest memory is going to be So when you saw Gridlock and the episodes after that, what was it about it that drew you in? What kind of captured your imagination?
I think maybe it's very indescribable. Like I'd say I think just the scale of it, really, like, and the range you get, really, because every story you get week by week, it's something different. It's like you're getting a 45-minute monster movie every week. But there was just such a good thrill about it, especially with Series 3, because I feel like Series 3 as a series, in hindsight, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Series 1 and 2, but I feel like Series 3 was kind of one where I decided to really start getting experimental with what the show could do, like with stories like Human Nature and Family and Bloods and Blink, which I think to this day, Human Nature and Family and Blood is still one of my favorite stories, just because it's very interesting to see. Just the conflicts on kind of both sides to it. Obviously, they need the Doctor back to save the day, but at the same time, this is someone who has become, a proper, real human being. Well, even though he'd sort of live on as a Doctor, he's still kind of dying in a way. So.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's the end of John Smith, and he's such a nice guy. You sort of don't want him to go, and the Doctor, in contrast, I don't know, when he comes back as the Doctor, he just seems really harsh, and kind of cruel in a way, I think.
But yeah, I will say, I feel like it is kind of the scale and the thriller, but also just because you get to know the characters as well. Like, but yeah, Martha still stands out as one of my favorite companions to this day.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're always gonna have a bit of a bias to your first ones anyway, but still, like, because when you look at it in hindsight, like compared to other companions from the Revives era, like her time on the TARDIS wasn't so easy sailing. I mean, obviously with the whole unrequited love thing, but also the fact that she spends like the first half of the series going through quite a few interesting adventures, but then she's but then in 42 she has to deal with getting sent out into space, then dealing with a Doctor taken over by the Sun, kind of taking command of that whole situation, then in Human Nature Family of Blood, she's the one having to be relied on to make sure that the Doctor's plan is going well.
She gets left
Then
in charge again, doesn't she?
Yeah. Then she gets sent back into the past by Weeping Angel with the Doctor, not knowing if she's going to be able to get back to her in time. And then in the finale, she ended up having to spend a whole year walking the earth to try and put everything right with what the Master did. Which, stuff like that is reason why I always feel a bit sad whenever people rank her lower, because she went through a lot of stuff in that series.
She did, didn't she?
But she kept going. She's a very strong character. But I feel like I could spend a long time answering this question. But
it's all right. Go for it.
I hope that's answered it.
That's brilliant. I love that. I think it's a good point, because we don't hear a lot of fan talk about Martha. It's there. It's always bubbling around, and it's usually quite positive.
This slightly relates to one of the questions that I think is lined up later. But I really love how, I don't know if you two have heard it, but the Big Finish story of her they released late last year. The year of Martha Jones. I really love how much it delves into the idea of how stories are important to us, and rather than commit major acts of violence in the name of the Doctor, she just went around the world telling stories, which obviously we know in the end worked. But it's funny though, because obviously it was written and recorded pre-COVID, but it still felt very relatable to I think what a lot of us went through with the pandemic. Obviously, we kind of consumed a lot of media to kind of try and keep us going. It's kind of amazing how relatable that side of it felt in a way that I never really thought about before that story. So
interesting.
But anyway, I might talk about that one a bit later though when it comes to the big thing.
I mentioned to Paul recently, I've got that set, the Martha one. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's one of a number that's piling up that I need to get my ears around. But I always liked Martha, and she is a great companion, and you're right. There is love for her out there, but it's it's not kind of as vocal as what you get for Rose and things, which is.
Don't get me wrong. I do love Rose, but I remember a lot of people being sour on Martha just because they were still sad about Rose leaving. And well, as much as I do really love Series 3, I do kind of wish the Doctor wasn't as hung up on Rose, because I feel like that kind of distracts a bit from Martha's character. But I'm glad that she's had more love since then. So
I'm hoping that now Freeman's come back and done Big Finish, she'll do a set with Tennant, and then you'll have done audios with Billy and Catherine.
That's what I'm hoping for as well. I'm still waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, no sign of it yet, but surely they must do it.
And I feel like with Russell coming back as showrunner, I feel like she's one of the very few companions I'd actually want to return. Just because I feel like Rose and Donna kind of already had their endings, whereas with Martha there's still room for more, I'd say. So
do you know what? I'm with you on that. I think Rose has obviously gone off to the parallel universe, and that's carried on in some of the Titan comics and that Big Finish series, but for all intents and purposes her story is done within the show, and I think if Donna came back, it would have to be a really good reason to kind of undo what was done at the end of her story. But Martha she went on to do Torchwood and joined that, and then was married to Mickey, and like an independent alien fighting team or whatever. So she's had more more kind of life and story within it. So you could see her being someone that perhaps we go back to in 20
In the
years,
series.
like Sarah Jane was in School Reunion or something. So, how did you discover Doctor Who in the first place?
So I think I was about 6. I think, 5 or 6. It was a school friend, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
that got me into it. I think I got in with David Tennant. He was like my doctor growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And I do partially remember watching Aliens of London.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
I think he was I think he was a rerun of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I partially remember watching that like at a really young age, and then I just fell in love with the show and have
Brilliant.
ever since, and never given up.
Yeah.
So was your school friend, were they a really big Doctor Who fan, and they said you've got to watch
yeah.
this? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. He actually built his own TARDIS.
No,
him and
really?
his family built his own TARDIS, and I went over
Yeah.
his house. I think from what I can remember, it was like full of his Doctor Who figures.
Was that in a
so
shed in the
proper
garden?
life-size TARDIS.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, man, I'd quite like to have a TARDIS in the garden.
I'd love a
You'd
TARDIS
love
in
that.
the garden.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be very
That'd be
cool.
really cool.
I mean, it'd be better if it was actually a proper TARDIS rather than
Yeah.
a shed that looks a bit like a TARDIS. But
I really want a TARDIS now because I really want to get to when Legend of the Sea Devils airs. 'Cause,
there's
I'm
not
so
long to
excited
wait
for that.
now.
I
know.
thought,
Yeah, it's only next month, isn't it?
yeah, it's only going to be about a month maybe. I thought you were going to say you wanted to have a TARDIS so you could jump forward in time when pandemic was over and there was no war and stuff.
Oh yeah, no.
But you chose the more important going for the Sea Devils. Yeah.
You might have to go
Sea
further
Devils.
forward in time to find that kind of utopia that Jeff's looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Well, when you go to Utopia, it doesn't really end very well, does it? If you remember Series 3 of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh, he's brought it back on topic. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Katie, what's your experience with Big Finish audios, and do you listen to many of them?
No, and I've never listened to any of them.
Not a single one, really? Wow.
And I'll tell you why. It's because I'll listen to podcasts every now and again, but I find it really hard when there's nothing to actually see, and I don't know why. It's just something weird about me.
No, do you know what? You're not alone with that. We just spoke to Millie McKenzie, didn't we, Paul? The girl who does all the clay models that you might have seen online.
Yes. I have, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. And she said she's listened to a few Big Finishes, but yeah, like you, she finds it hard to only hear, and not see the things. And but Paul and I, like I can't listen to them when I'm at work, partly because I use a lot of audio within what I'm doing at work, so I can't have a story coming at me whilst trying to manage audio. But I can't concentrate on the work with that going on, even if I wasn't using audio. So I listen to it most of the time when I'm in the car, or sometimes in I'm settling down for bed. So I kind of have to be doing something semi mindless so I can concentrate on it. And you're kind of the same, aren't you, Paul?
I am. Yep, exactly the same. I have been totally mindless. Yeah. But weirdly, when I'm driving, it's fine, which is quite worrying, isn't it?
Yeah. But we went to Leicester, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago for work together, and we drove up separately, but we were both listening to Spare Parts for one of our podcasts. And then when we got together, we were like, which episode are you up to? But I've got 2 left to go, and I think you had 3 or something, didn't you? So we were kind of competing on it. But yeah, there's do you know what? As a big Tennant fan, you should check out the 10th Doctor Adventures. They're really good. And there's 2 sets with Donna and 1 with Rose, and they're just brilliant. They really feel like they've just been lifted straight from that era of the show. So
I'll give it a go.
Give it a go.
Yeah, they might.
You never know.
The first set
I'll tell you what you need to do, actually, right? You need to, what was it your friend did? Forced you to watch. Yeah. So we should force you to listen, right? And you'll forever be like, yay!
I'll recommend one, and you should listen to it, and then we'll do a podcast about it, and you should listen as well, Paul.
Yeah. At
Mike point, do it, because you haven't listened to them either, have you?
I haven't. No, I've just listened to. I'm
No.
looking. I can't remember what it's called. The one he did with Tom Baker. That one, Out of Time, Part 1.
Oh,
I've
out
listened to
of
that.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, but David
Yeah.
Tennant's been a regular
There's a
on
little-
Big Finish even before he was a Doctor. He was in lots of different bit parts here and there, and he was really good.
Yeah,
you know,
he was,
in all those things, he did lots of different voices and characters and little tiny parts where they sort of, we need someone to be on to do this voice, like, where's Tennant? Oi, Tennant, get in here, mate. We need your voice. Oh yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I'll do it. Like he was desperate for work or something, you know. And they're like treating him. I don't know, I just made that bit up, but
experience with Doctor Who books.
Honestly, I've only just recently started getting into them. I'm looking at my collection now, which is pretty dire, pretty bad. But I've just got the Time Lord fairy tale book, which I absolutely love.
Is it good? I've got that on audio. I haven't listened to all of it.
Oh, it's really good. So I haven't really got any of like the main series of books, if you like, but I've kind of got the odd random ones like the Encyclopedia or the Annuals or the Time Lord fairy tales, or I've got the Ruby's Curse as well by Alex Kingston, which I really, really love.
Yeah, did you enjoy it? Because I read that, and I must admit I did like it, but I'm not a massive River fan, so I would sort of go from really enjoying it to being quite annoyed by it, and then enjoying it. So,
well, you're wrong, Geoff. But it's okay.
Yes, you're wrong, Geoff.
But it was clever, wasn't it? The sort of book within a book structure of it was good, and so I did like it, even if she's not my favourite character. You should check that one out, Paul, as well. It's coming out on paperback soon, I think.
What's it called? The Ruby's Curse or something? Was it Ruby what?
Yeah, that's
Ruby's
it.
Curse.
Yeah.
Did she write it herself?
Yeah.
Did she remember? What's her name again? Alex Kingston. Did she write it?
Alex Kingston. Yeah.
She did write it. Oh yeah, I'll look out for that one.
Yeah.
It's lovely, marvelous. I'll do that. And it's all my other books.
Yeah, Paul that just expands all the time and never sort of goes down, does it? So, which other ones have you read?
What else is over there? Oh, I'm in the middle of it's downstairs at the minute, but I don't think it was written. No, it wasn't written by Alex Kingston, but it's like River's stories that we haven't seen on screen.
Oh, interesting.
Can't remember.
Oh yes.
Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of it.
It might be River Stories
really
brackets that we haven't seen on screen.
That's
it's actually
better
cool.
than the title it is now, I'm sure. But yeah, it's something like that. I'm sure fans listening will know what it is. But
it's not Diary of River Song, is it? That's the audio series, I think. The drop from Big Finish.
it could be.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure. We talked about this one before, but At Childhood's End, which is a 13th Doctor story written by Sophie Aldred, who played Ace. That's a really good one. The Seventh Doctor's in it as well, isn't he, Paul? It jumps between like now and the past.
There it is.
It's that one, The Legends of River Song. There you go. That's the one it is.
That's it. It came to you, didn't it? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Who books are really good, but like the audios, there's so many of them, and it can be a bit kind of daunting when you first look at it, and see all this stuff, particularly with like Target novels as well. So it's not everyone has kind of dived into it really, which is it's understandable, isn't it? Ethan, how much Big Finish have you got into? We've talked about this a bit on the podcast, and it's it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah. So Big Finish, I only got into a few years ago, really. I think my first Big Finish was the first volume of the 10th Doctor Adventures. Yeah. And I just got so much nostalgia and goosebumps just hearing David Tennant and Catherine Tate's voices as the characters again.
It was so good, wasn't it? Have you listened to that set, Paul?
Why do you keep asking me that? I haven't.
That's what maybe I might fix that. But it's so good, isn't it, Ethan? They're just brilliant. And that first story with what's the aliens calling it? The techno something, isn't it?
The story was Technophobia, and I believe the aliens are called the Cognoscenti.
Oh, the Cognoscenti, that's it.
but yeah, like I feel like with their performances, they jump straight back in, as if they never left the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each of those stories it felt like you could have seen it on screen, and particularly in the set with Billy, there's a story called Infamy of the Zaros, I think.
Oh, I love that one.
Good.
Yeah.
It's such a classic RTD idea when the little twist is revealed. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god, that's so good.
yeah, yeah. I think that story had one of my favorite Rose moments, and it's not even in the actual show. It's the bit at the end where where she has a word with I think the character was called Karen. Karen's mum, kind of telling her to kind of basically to appreciate her daughter more because
Yeah.
she actually helps save the world. I just really love that. So I listened to that volume. I've not heard volume 3, which was another one with Catherine Zeta, but I'll
Do you know
look into
what?
that.
I'm going to say that's probably the best set, really. Again,
Really?
the first episode is first story is sort of a bit of a riff on like Most Haunted and reality shows, and it's got Wilf and Donna's mum in it.
I
And
love
but it's quite spooky. I'm quite partial to a bit of spooky Who, and it's really good. And then there's one set in London which is with kind of there's fog everywhere. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the other story is, but that I remember thinking it was a really good set, that one. But to be honest, all three of those box sets were really good. So still holding out for a Martha and Tennant one.
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, well, I mean there's quite a few other Time Doctor ones I listen to. So I've listened to Dalek Universe, which I loved a lot.
Oh yeah.
That and the first one for Out of Time, the one with Tom Baker.
I've got that one. I've done that one.
Yeah, like I really love both of those because I feel like they work very well as an extension to the time of the specials, really, because you do kind of get a sense of the of what stage of his life the Doctor's in. Really. So at some point, I do want to rewatch the 2009 specials, along with listening to those. And yeah, in the Out of Time one, I really loved the reference to how the Fourth Doctor mentioned Sarah Jane, and Seventh Doctor was like, I went to her wedding recently.
The third one of that series is out soon, isn't it? That's he's with the Sixth Doctor in that, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, the cover for that looks beautiful. Beautiful.
Do you know, all of the artwork on Big Finish stuff in the last couple of years has just been exceptional. It's got better and better.
Yeah, so I need to catch up with those two at some point. I've listened to the first 2 volumes of the Ninth Doctor Adventures, and I just started volume 3. I'm a bit behind because I know volume 4 has just come out, so I need to catch up on those. And I think what's great about those is you can you get a sense in Chris's voice how much fun he's actually having being back in the role, which is nice considering like how much he actually distanced himself from the show for quite a long time.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing in the first box set. You could tell he was enjoying it, and the fact that he's agreed to go back for a second series, shows that he was having a good time with it.
Yeah. Only thing that annoys me that annoys me though is the fact that that some of the aliens in the first volume are known as Ravagers, and then in Flux we get Storm
get
Michelle,
Yeah.
so it's like
Stop confusing us with your weird Doctor Who continuity errors.
but
We haven't got enough of them to put up with over the years.
but yeah, whatever. I'll just
Yeah, you just go with it, don't you?
So yeah, I listened to those, and I was obviously I was talking about the year of Martha Jones,
Yeah.
which I've really enjoyed that one, and I really hope they do another set for that because I feel like with that time period where it's the year of Martha walking the earth, I feel like there's quite a lot of room for stuff to do.
A lot of stories to be told
for that time period. And as I said before, like I've got a lot of love for Martha's character, so I'm happy for them to do more of that. I've also heard the first volume of, well, not the first volume. I've heard one of the episodes of the Dimension Canon because it was free with an issue of Doctor Who magazine.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one because it had a very similar vibe to Turn Left, which I'm sure was the intention because it was kind of exploring alternate universes that were collapsing, and it just felt very organic with Russell's era in terms of the fact that it's all about it's focusing on these characters and how these characters react to these extraordinary situations on a very human level. I'm trying to think what else to listen to. I've heard the one of the River Song ones, the one where she teams up with Missia. I think I thought that one was very fascinating.
I haven't listened
to listen to. Yeah, just because both of them as characters have very strong personalities. It is a shame that they never actually met in the actual shows. This was the next best thing. More recently I listened to The Chimes of Midnight, which is an Eighth Doctor story.
Yes, that's one of my ultimate favourites.
Yeah, which I was recommended by a friend, and that one was really cool. But yeah, I have jokes saying that you can make a drinking game outfit. So take a shot every time they talk about plum pudding, or I think it's plum pudding. Yeah. And like Christmas without it. So I'm trying to think if there's anything I've missed. I feel like I've gone over quite a lot of them. Then there's the 10th Doctor in River Song Adventures, which I thought were cool, but I thought that I think there's better stuff out there in Big Finish. But
it was good. But I don't think I'd go back and re-listen to it. I liked the Ghost one.
Yeah.
I thought the first story where the Fifth Doctor makes an appearance was kind of a bit silly, and not in a good way. It was that was out of all of the ones with Tennant. I was a bit like, It was nothing amazing. Whereas like Dalek Universe was really good.
I'm interested to see. I mean, if Jodie eventually does Big Finish, if they'll find a way for River Song to meet her.
Have you read? This is what we in the industry would call a little bit of a link. But talking of books, have you read Ruby's Curse, which is written by Alex Kingston?
I haven't yet, but I think I've heard some good things about it. So I can't remember. Have you read
good. There is a bit with 13 in it, very briefly. I won't spoil anything, but I would say when Jodie does Big Finish, I would be I will be knocking on their door for a series of stories of just her and Yaz. But I think it would be inevitable that they do something with River.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the only way they could do that is, well, 'cause obviously in the Husbands of River's Song, River only knows about the Doctor's first 12 phases, including the War Doctor. So I think it'd have to take place during her 24-year night with 12 on Iridium, where sometimes she'll sneak off to go on adventures with other Doctors, like say Jodie's.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the only way they could do it. But
Well, I think
I'm sure they're up for that.
I think in this book she's imprisoned in Storm Cage and she's writing a Melody Malone, and it sort of jumps between that book that you're reading and her sort of real world adventure, as it were, and then it all starts to sort of blend in together. And then there's a bit where I think she reaches out to the Doctor and is a bit surprised that it's a woman. I think that's what happened in it.
Right.
Yeah, so it was a good book.
right.
I think your enjoyment of it would depend a lot on your liking of River Song. But it's nice to have actors from the show writing books like Sophie Aldred at Childhood's End.
Yeah. I listened to the audiobook of Childhood's End. And yeah, like it was a very interesting story to listen to, because at the time I'd only just started. Well, at the time I'd only recently started watching Classic Who, and I think as I mentioned before, I started off with Sylvester's era, so and I'd watched all that. So by the time I listened to my Childhood's End, Ace's time on the show was still kind of fresh in the mind, so it was kind of very interesting to kind of hear that story. I do love kind of how she kind of brings up the kind of previous conflicts that Ace had with the Doctor, and there's also that scene where her and Yaz are on like a roof terrace talking, and she kind of compares her experiences to Yaz's and discuss the imperfections of the Doctor. Stuff was pretty fascinating. With Sophie Aldred reading it, I really liked her impression of Jodie. I thought that was that was pretty cool.
I'll have to have a listen to that. I read the book, but I haven't listened to the audio.
I haven't listened to the
all the
audio.
voices. Have you?
Sorry.
Geoff, did you say you'd listened to the audio book?
No, I've read it, but I haven't listened to
right.
the audio.
Yeah,
but I feel like I'd quite like to now.
Yeah, he's selling it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great story anyway, aren't it?
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
I wish it could have been adapted into a story as part of the show. I mean, I guess this time someday, if they want to adapt it with a 14th Doctor instead or whatever. But yeah, I really like that one. So, but what I'm wondering though is, because we're having the 10th Doctor Big Finish adventures where he goes back and see all these class companions, but one of them's Ace. So it's like, is there going to be no reference to at Childhood's End? Is this going to be like an alternate timeline where she meets where she meets him instead of 13? I mean, which to be fair, like if it's done well, then I can accept it as its own thing. And
I always think it's quite complex with the 7th Doctor and Ace, because they've got so many narrative continuities from the series. I was also in mind with this comic here, Ground Zero. Don't know if you've ever seen that one.
No, that's
I know.
Yeah, that gives a kind of a closure, should we say, to Ace and the 7th Doctor. But then we also get things like we get the New Adventures, where there's another narrative. It sort of ties into the comics, but doesn't really. And then you get then you get the the Death Comes to Time audio from the early 2000s, which again had another narrative for Ace and how she finishes up. And what's quite interesting is I think there's sort of references to that in At Childhood's End, all those different possibilities, all those different things that could have happened to Ace, and I think they're sort of referenced those things there. But I would love to think that the Ace we meet in At Childhood's End is the real Ace, if you know what I mean. The Ace that we saw at the end of Survival, walking away hand in hand with the Doctor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I like to think that as well, but I think mainly just because it's come from Sophie Aldred, so it feels like it should be the right one.
I agree. Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes with the 10th Doctor.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, Sophie's another person I'd love to come back into Doctor Who, and I think the door would seem to be wide open, especially from that trailer that she did for was it series 24 or 24, one of the two, wasn't it?
26,
23, 26. Yeah, there you go.
I agree. Like, out of all the classic companions so far, well, she's either my favorite or she's up there. I mean, it is kind of hard to say when there's still Sarah Jane as well, but
it's all the companions are great. I think they're all different characters, and all the actors have been able to do something with them, and all the writers to better or to a greater or lesser extent have done things with them. Some haven't seemed to, but it's one of the things that Big Finish seems to be able to put right, and that the novels and the comics also kind of are able to sort of grow with. We were talking about Mel this morning, I think, weren't we, where she has a good life in Big Finish, a lot of character development that we didn't see on the TV.
They've got so much more time, haven't they, to
exactly.
They
can do these things.
Money is no object.
I have heard about that. Like, I mean, I've seen her in season 24. I've not seen Trials yet, but I thought she was a nice addition. She shouldn't really stand out as a favorite, but it's nice to hear that Big Finish seems to have done her justice. And I think when it comes out, I'll probably get the Mind of Hodiak.
I'm interested to listen to that. That's not soon, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
it is.
Just for the fact that it's technically Russell T Davis's first Doctor Who story.
I know, there's a value to that, isn't there?
Sitting in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah. It's interesting what you're saying about Ace, though, because when I watched Remembrance of the Daleks, I mean, I've seen it tons of times, obviously, but I introduced Freya, who's been on this podcast with us, my daughter, to it a couple of years back, and she'd never seen any Seventh Doctor in this. And I said, "You love Ace. You love Ace. She'd be great." She was, "All right, yeah, go on, I'll watch it." And she watched it, and she did. She really, really loved Ace, and particularly the classic bit where she beats up a Dalek with a baseball bat.
I mean, that bit obviously is iconic, but
and the rocket launcher as well.
But the moment that I knew I was gonna love Ace, because I watched the stories in order. It was a bit in Dragonfire where there's that rude customer. So she decides to go over and pour a milkshake all over.
Tips it all over her head. Yeah, we'd all love to do that. We've all done jobs where we just need to do that. And she does it. She doesn't care. Brilliant.
So, do you listen to many Big Finish audios, and have you got any favourites in there?
Yeah, I do. I love Big Finish. I think it's a great way of expanding on things that the show couldn't because of maybe budget or time or something. But I love Big Finish. I think my favourite story has to be. Hang on. I've got a poster.
Look at this.
I've got a poster up here. Ta-da!
Yes. Spare Parts. Oh.
I love Spare Parts. It's such a good story.
Yeah. Did you listen to our podcast on Spare Parts?
Haven't yet.
So we'll keep talking.
I promise.
Yeah, we enjoyed going back to it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I couldn't believe it's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good story. You know,
Mm.
like I would love to see it on screen. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like
that's the
like a
thing.
Halloween special, maybe.
So many of the audios, you know, you can picture them so vividly in your head and think, oh yeah, I'd love to see this on screen one day. And obviously, maybe 2 or 3 of them have sort of been adapted, haven't they? Like Human Nature and stuff.
That
Was
was
that
a novel
audio?
first,
That
mate.
was a novel. I was going to say it was a novel, wasn't
It
it?
was a novel. It's a
Yeah,
novel.
a
I think
novelle.
Spare Parts kind of was. Well, you had Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, and Spare
Yeah,
Parts was like really kind of based on it.
The kernel of
Um,
inspiration for it,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
Because
Yeah.
we talked about that, didn't we, on the podcast, Paul? And there wasn't kind of glaring similarities, but there was bits that you could see where the kind of inspiration had come from it, you know.
Yeah, who was the writer of Rise of Cybermen? Was it Tom McRae? Was it?
I think so. Yeah,
Was it Tom McRae? Either way, he kind of went off and did his own thing, didn't he? I
yeah,
think the idea was that, you know, well, let's do something like Spare Parts. Have a listen to this, and I think he listened to it and then went off and sort of had it in his head, but it went off in a different direction. I don't know how true that is. It could be complete nonsense what I read off the internet, but there you go. That's
chances are.
it is what it is. Yeah.
So, have you listened to any of the 10th Doctor or 9th Doctor adventures that they've put out?
No, I'd love to listen to some of the Ninth Doctor ones. Definitely the Cybermen ones, because Cybermen are my favourite monsters.
Are they?
Yeah,
Have you seen
I love
behind
the
him, Jeff?
Cybermen.
Have a look at this. It shows what you got behind you, James.
Oh
Look
wow,
Ashad.
at that.
that is brilliant.
Life-size Ashad.
Yeah,
That's
I
that
love
kind of
his.
thing you want at the bottom of your stairs when you come down for a glass of milk at night, is it?
No, he was such a terrifying Cyberman.
Really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Terrifying.
that you know, the human aspect in him that was so kind of prominent. I think that made him so scary. You know,
And
took
the
it.
worst aspects of humanity.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he actually wanted to be a Cyberman, and
Yeah.
like he was actually a psychopath. It wasn't like the like it wasn't him not being half converted that drove him to be really psychopathic. He was already
yeah, he
a
was already
psychopath,
there. Yeah,
and you know,
yeah.
yeah.
The Ninth Doctor audios are really good. I've just been listening to some of the third set this week, and the first story in it, I think it's called The Hunting Party. It's quite it's sort of a bit creepy. It's kind of set in an old sort of mansion, and these aliens, these creatures, are sort of storming the house, and they're going flesh. But then when you discover a bit more, actually it ends up being sort of it's slightly funny, and it kind of twists on it a little bit. It was really good. It felt very kind of the time. So yeah, I was enjoying that one. But
Enjoyed that one, yeah.
yeah, but I haven't listened to the rest of the set yet because I haven't had the time for it. I've got to get on it.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
Getting
it
the
is.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that there's just never enough time for it is all the books. So, James, are you a big Who book reader?
No, I tend to listen to audiobooks, but I
right.
guess it is in a book form anyway. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah, well,
love.
still the
think
book,
currently
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm currently listening to At Childhood's End.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
I still haven't finished it. I've had it for like a year, but I absolutely love it. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Like
Sophie's
I would
Jodie
love to see that
impressions.
on screen.
Yeah. Have you read
Oh
that
yeah,
one,
she's
Paul?
really good. I love Sophie.
I have read it. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I really loved it. I haven't
It's very good,
listened to
yeah.
the audiobook of it, but I know Sophie Aldred is a master storyteller and narrator anyway. I'm sure she's brilliant. I might just get it just for the sake of that, actually, because
Yeah.
you know Sophie's great in my opinion. She's fabulous, in fact. So anything she does is pure gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else told us that that her audio version of it was really good, and yeah, I thought, well, maybe I'll give that a go at some point. So yeah, I might add that to the list. So behind you there, then you've got a giant Ashad cutout, which is awesome. Do you know what? In my loft somewhere, I think I've still got it. Is a near life-size TARDIS cutout, just a panel one like that,
Oh,
not
that's
a
cool.
four-walled one.
You could stick it on the front of a box and put it in the
Yeah.
garden. So
Yeah.
it'd be your TARDIS shed.
Yeah, it wouldn't last long in the
That'd be
rain,
good.
would it?
Do that.
What else does your collection consist of? Now I know something that you've got that Paul hasn't seen.
Oh, I'm getting excited. Go on, tell us. What is it? What is it?
What do I have? Oh yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Hang on.
So James is quickly. He's gone into a
James
cupboard of
leaves
goodies.
His chair, goes into a cupboard of goodies, and returns with a device. It's a Sonic.
Not just any Sonic, the Rubber Toe.
It's the 13th Doctor's Sonic, the rubber toe replica version, and I had a bit of a spin with it at Comic-Con. It's made out of metal,
It's
isn't
really
it?
good.
It's really heavy, and it's really
That
cool.
looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I've had it a little bit now, it's it's not as heavy. But when I first had it, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what is this, a car?
You don't expect it to weigh that, do you? So it cost a pretty penny, but it was worth it, wasn't it? And I must admit, when I saw them,
Oh, definitely.
I saw them go up for pre-order, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I know the guy had put a picture on Instagram saying he was making the last few of them, and they were still a few available to order. And I looked it up, and I saw the price.
Edition.
Yeah, is it 300 of them maybe? And I saw the price, and I was like,
about 300. Yeah.
That's not happening. So what else have you got in your What else have you got in your collection?
Wow. I have I'll bring them over now. I've got the collection.
James reaches under the stairs.
I've got the collection DVDs.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All of the in the standard edition.
Oh
So,
yes, I thought they
all of the
looked a
ones
little
that
bit
are
different.
now in standard edition of all of those, and I really can't wait to complete it all and then just kind of watch all the way through.
Yeah, that'll be.
So have you not watched any of them yet then?
I've watched kind of some of them.
You dipped in, yeah.
As kind of isolated things, but I really can't wait to just kind of
go
through all of classic on actual TV on a DVD. I guess the first and I guess the kind of the first and second Doctors era will come out last, don't you think? Because of missing stories and stuff.
Maybe. I think it's we're overdue a black and white collection box.
Yeah, I wonder if they're deliberately not putting any out yet because I don't know. I think maybe it won't sell as much, or like James said, they're incomplete.
No.
But if you think, they could release the whole of Hartnell's first series, the very first series from Unearthly Child to the end of Reign of Terror. Because I think it's pretty much. Oh no, we haven't got Marco Polo, have we?
No.
Who's that missing? So if we ever get Marco Polo animated, that would do the job.
Yeah.
Or if Geoff decides to give the film cans back to the BBC that he's been sitting on. Then we'd all benefit from that.
I haven't got a chair here. I'm sitting on the cans. Yeah,
you're sitting on the film cans of Marco Polo and the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, because they're stopping the animations, aren't they? But I wonder if someone might pick that up, and
I'm sure someone will pick them up.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with all of that. That's been brilliant talking to other fans about how they discovered the show. I always like hearing people's Doctor Who origin stories.
Yeah, enjoyed that.
And there's some Big Finish love as well, some stuff worth checking out there. So we'll have another Meet the Whovians episode soon.
Yeah.
We've got some more topics to cover. In fact, we talked about so much with each of these three guys that it's made a couple of
we got days worth of recordings in there,
those, which is good. It's no bad thing.
Minus to the end of eternity and still not scratch the surface. That's not entirely true. Bit of an
if you're listening and you'd like to take part in an upcoming Meet the Whovians
let us
episode,
know. Yes.
Let us know. Tweet us or DM us. But we'll see you on our next episode soon.
See you then. Bye-bye.